right. So we are live. Hello, all. Thanks a lot for joining in. This is Healthful Diaries. I'm your host, Ayush. And today is July 1st. It's a Friday, 2000, celebrating National Doctors Day. And with us, we have Dr. Abhishek Bajotia from Madhya Pradesh, India. He has just recently shifted, so he's going to be talking a little bit more about his transition as well from different cities. But Dr. Abhishek has a background working for the World Health Organization in public health. He has an MD and an MBBS, and he has dedicated a lot of his time and effort into just helping impact his community online and also in person. So we have cut in multiple podcast episodes with him already in the past, but we are very grateful that you have taken some time out today, Dr. Vishek. Appreciate that, and we know you're very busy, so we try to dive right into it. Right? Happy National Doctors Day, and thanks a lot for being a doctor, and thanks a lot for just sharing your insights and perspective whenever you do with us, right, with our team. So, Dr. Abhishek, uh, what does National Doctors Day mean to you? I know it's National Doctors Day, so it has to be related to doctors. It has to be something positive. But what does it signify? When did it start? How what is the mindset of people like you and your peers who are doctors about National Doctors Day? If you can start with that.
So very good evening, Ayush. And since you have already wished me a happy Doctor's Day, it's all evening for me too. So talking about the national, it's like Dr. B.C. Roy, Dr. Bidhan Chandra Roy has been a very renowned physician in the country. Also been the second Chief Minister of West Bengal, and it was the rarest of the rare moments when a doctor, a physician, had been awarded Bharat Ratna in 1961, long back, so many years ago. Since then, people knew that somebody like Dr. B.C. Roy could contribute of health to the field of medicine, that he or she could reach to the highest possible honor that an Indian can have. In his memory, this National Doctors Day is being celebrated. To me, it's somewhere, if I say I didn't do anything special today up till now, when I started talking to you about Doctors Day, because it was a usual day for me, my usual activities, my usual work, whatever I do. But Doctors Day, it feel like a usual day we celebrate, like a happy birthday, like a happy New Year's Day, a happy Mother's Day. Nowadays, there is a trend on social media. It is a brothers, sisters weekend, and so. What I sincerely feel is, when we talk about Doctors Day, only a is to be celebrated. I mean, probably I may sound selfish being a doctor, but what I feel is the society to celebrate Doctors Day, but they indeed that we realize doctors are to be celebrated, and that too not for a single day, for all 365 days in the year. Because if we say that other in a when we Happy Mother's Day or posting a picture with Mother's Day on social media is not only I mean, it isn't sufficient. You should respect the mother. You should respect your father. You should always remember what all, or you should realize they would have gone so many such. No, they would have done for you. The same way, some or the other way, it doctors also. You never know what a doctor goes through. Whenever he may talk to you for a minute or two. He can talk to you for a couple of minutes if you are too sick, and he would just write a prescription, and you feel you told him your ailment, he wrote a prescription, and then you're fine. But what has been the process behind it? Years of hard work, years, so much of such activities that would have seen that would seem impossible. start with when we get into MBBS. Then, I mean, when we get into MBBS, for MBBS, they know what all they do to prepare for MBBS. I should say what all they to enter in the they have to sacrifice a lot with the activities they like, with sometimes the food that they love, because if they eat well, they'll be able to prepare for the competitive exam to keep awake the whole. So there is a lot and lot more if uh, behind just a is being written for you, a simple uh, uh, piece of which tells you that these medicines and you should be fine in a few days. There's a lot behind it. A doctor has gone through so much before writing that prescription. And if I say, there are a lot of sayings. I received so many messages today. People sometimes they praise doctors by saying happy doctors day to the people who sacrificed their youths to an apron. And somewhere it is kind of very true that we have sacrificed so many as medical aspirants, as medical students, as pre-medical aspirants, as um, pre-P, as practitioners, as professionals. We need to sacrifice a lot. Of course, I feel any and every professional, field might require a lot of dedication, but the amount of dedication that is required to become a doctor, that too realizing so many times that this field, so many times we try to, if there is a batch of 100 students in a single year, there would be a few people who would give up. Every year 2 or 3 of them would give up, that we can't take it further. They'll that put, and sometimes on your side who is say motivating the person who is about to give up, sometimes it is you who would be on the receiving side. Sometimes you yourself might give up, that I can't do this anymore, and the same person who you motivated earlier would be motivating you. So saying just about Doctors Day or National Doctors Day, it is significance. It is an indicator where we remember the as a society we try to remember what doctors or medicos have done for them. But I just think that needs to be celebrated. Probably people who have gone through COVID in the past 2 years, they would have realized what their doctors have done for. So many times, the people who have never ever been to doctors, they would have met a very very new face for them. But the doctors, they did their best, better than the best, to make these people come out of COVID healthy and hearty. So now it is not only a day to celebrate, it is Doctors Day. It is about celebrating doctors as a whole.
Yeah, that is true. Thanks a lot for sharing that. And that, the way you put it in a very good perspective of just a simple prescription or just some simple knowledge that, you may be talking to your uncle or aunt who is a doctor, and they might just advise you on something regarding how to be healthy or how to fix yourself when it comes to studies or how to be more committed in life. And that is coming from a vast experience of not just practicing something, but also studying and educating yourself and going through tough times and thick and thin, right? And that's one of the key reasons that I remember talking to you about it earlier also, that that was my exposure to doctors for the first time, not in a clinic, but actually talking to friends of my father who were doctors and advising me on life when I was a young, just a kid, basically. I'm still a kid, but I was way younger at that time, right? So thanks a lot for sharing that. folks. Hi, this is Ayush from Healthful Diaries. This is your host for today's live talk with Dr. Abhishek Bachotia from Madhya Pradesh, India. And we had a short little break, and we are back now. Before the break, we talked with Dr. Abhishek about the meaning of National Doctors Day, how it originated, and why is it important to not just celebrate one day, but in general celebrate doctors in general, right, throughout the year. But nevertheless, we have this one day, so let's remember all the great work the doctors and medical professionals, the entire medical fraternity in India is doing. I know that I read somewhere that according to World Health Organization, there should be approximately 3 to 4 doctors per thousand people in a population, and India only has less than one, right, for per thousand people. So that's even with that over overworked population of medical professionals, we are still serving, a great nation. So thanks a lot, Dr. Abhishek, for being here, for taking the time again. So let's go into public health now, Dr. Abhishek, right? And let's focus on this field and how medical students and young doctors are preparing themselves in this field, right? We hear a lot about tier 2 and tier 3 cities having so many stereotypes, stigma, even with tier 1, but tier 2 and tier 3 have their own set of practices, their own set of traditional practices that may not be the best for public health, their own set of challenges with health and hygiene, with public amenities. And your expertise and your experience has been primarily in public health with tier 2 and tier 3 cities, right? Of course, you have experience with tier 1 also, but right now you are, in the past 4 or 5 years, you have been, especially with the COVID lockdown, you were in tier 2 cities. So what do you see are some of the biggest challenges that public health is facing in these cities? And how, as a follow up to that, how can medical students and young doctors prepare themselves for a career in this field in India?
Yeah. So Ayush, it's like like medicine is everywhere the same, whether it is a different tier city in our country or anywhere else. Medicine is everywhere the same. The same principle works that a person gets ill, a person is being connected to a health facility, he or she gets treated, he or she gets better. And in addition, he or she is being advised how to prevent the same or similar kind of event in the life.
Mm,
When we talk about public health, the major emphasis of public health is on prevention of the diseases.
mm,
Like if you are healthy, you should remain healthy. The major emphasis is always prevention and not treatment. Treatment is a part of, you see, the whatever the activities that we do under public health, and that is why there are not only doctors who are being involved. If we say about public health professionals, there are not only doctors but also other professionals who are involved in the field, in the community, when they are imparting health education, imparting preventive health services to the people who are not doctors but are, say, field nurses. We call them ANMs, we call them ashas, when it is about spreading awareness and providing very basic preventive services to families as a whole. So it is like that. But when we talk about the difference in, you see, the public health among cities, if we see, uh, the expectation of people who are who are residing in big cities are far different from those who are residing in smaller cities, the towns, the villages. uh, the bigger cities, people are quite aware of whatever is going in the world. They may have access to better, you see, better options. When they are at a big city, there are multiple options. But if you talk about people who are living in smaller cities or towns or even villages, they don't have much options. Even if they want to have a second opinion, it is not possible for them to get a second medical opinion. Though in our country there are many people who give various kinds of opinions on various ailments, even there if they are not doctors or medicos. But as a professional, you see, you don't get many options to be treated by another doctor, or if you're not very much satisfied with one doctor in a small town or at a village, you don't have any other option rather than to continue the treatment or to discontinue the treatment. So there also the basic, you see, principle behind this phenomena is the 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 level of satisfaction among people. Though it may sound that if a person living in village has to go to some other doctor, if I'm practicing at a village and a patient is not very satisfied with me, he needs to go to some other doctor and he or she doesn't know where to go because there is no one except me. But this just sounds difficult. But people who are staying at villages, they don't feel so less satisfied. I mean, you do a small thing for a patient at a village or a small town, or I would say a three-tier city. The people, they try to, I mean, soothe themselves. They try to keep calm. They have the patience. They are quite satisfied with whatever we do for them, because they have a sense of trust for the doctor at such places. But the, I would say, an uh, unfortunate virtue that a person staying at a big city, I would say unfortunate because it keeps him unsatisfied, dissatisfied with the doctors. But a virtue because education is always a virtue. But whenever you are highly educated, when you have better options, when you have wider horizon to see, to experience about, you see health facilities. Whenever you have a wide variety of, you see, health facilities, or wide variety of doctors, or wide options of hospitals, you seem to be dissatisfied even more than you should be. I mean, I have seen people from various settings, from the biggest cities of the country to the smallest villages. I've seen that a small villager, though he or she might be illiterate, uneducated, not very much aware, but they have a sense of trust that Dr. Saab is going to treat me well. Even if he or she is not getting well soon, he would come and complain to me only, that Doctor Saab, you gave me such medicine and I'm not getting benefit out of it. Can you give me something else? He would ask me my own second opinion. But instead of it, had I been practicing in a bigger city, a person who would come to me for a particular ailment, if he or she doesn't get well in, say, a couple of days, he would not come to me. He would just go to some other doctor and then tell, I had been treated by some so and so doctor and I'm not getting benefit out of it, so I've come to you. What the other doctor has to do, he would be giving you, medicine from the same group, but with a different name, because there are so many ailments that have a particular treatment. No other option would be there. And you see, okay, these names are different than what were there in the previous prescription. You would try to feel a little satisfied, but you still have other options of going to other doctors, higher doctors, even more older, elder, and experienced doctors. You may or may not get satisfied with the second option also. So you may be going to some other doctor even. There is this phenomena of doctor shopping among people who have, you see, a lower degree of satisfaction and a wide variety of options that they have. So the basic problem between these cities, among these cities, is people just have a lower level of patience. Just that they won't be satisfied so soon, and they would try to, you see, so many times whenever I'm recently I've shifted to Indore, and Indore is quite a big city in the country. People here are aware. People here are quite knowledgeable, and they sometimes they try to Google out the medicines that we prescribe to them. And every medicine has got benefits to side effects, to severe most side effects that may even write up till death. The Google has to write from zero to infinity. And then they would start asking, Doctor Saab, you gave me this medicine. Google says this medicine may cause cancer. So this is the level of dissatisfaction, the level of distrust that doctors may face at bigger cities. But nonetheless, I said it is an unfortunate virtue. But fortunately, so many of our patients are educated. They still have, even I won't say that the level of trust is inversely proportional to the level of education. No, it's not like that. But yes, there are people. Even at villages also, we find a very few. But yes, we do have some patients who don't trust you anywhere, and he or she may go to a Babaji for some bhasmi and babhuti and may not trust a doctor. Their level of trust is different for us. It may be different for Babaji. And yes, it's a wide variety of people that we can get at both sides of the places, the biggest cities and the smallest villages. But if I talk about the public health, the the public health department is probably the only source of health and preventive services that is there at small villages, towns, and the smallest possible cities. So when we talk about public health there, people are well aware that these public health services or preventive services would be provided only by the government providers. And if I talk about the bigger cities or the biggest of the hospitals that these cities have, there are frankly no preventive services. You might not expect a corporate hospital distributing free family planning devices to the people, or you see, they providing free vaccination to people. I mean, to children and to pregnant women. You would never expect a big hospital, a big corporate hospital, a private hospital to do this. So the public health scenario is entirely different. Just because there at the bigger cities, people do even not know that there are preventive measures to be taken. Whereas at a village, you see people who are well aware, even if they are not educated, since they come in contact of the community health workers every now and then, they're well aware that these health workers would be coming to us telling us that our children are due for a particular vaccine because of their age, and we have to take the children to the particular Anganwadi center or a vaccination center, and my child would be vaccinated for free. Or a pregnant female at my house, in my family, would be treated for free. And also, the health worker would be promoting my you see family to have an institutional delivery, so that there is a healthy baby and a healthy mother would be ensured. This is not the case with bigger cities. The scenario of public health in bigger cities is just restricted to organizations, restricted to, I would say, the communication material that we read, restricted to websites, restricted to articles of journals, and restricted to various forums, where various fora where these things are being discussed. But they don't go to the public in this sense, because the public itself doesn't know that they need it. I would just give you a very small example. Before coming to Indore, I had been I had been at a district which is quite smaller than Indore, but the administration cadre is the same everywhere. The you see, the professionals like collectors, the SDMs, the ADMs, and all such. So we had this vitamin A supplementation drive in that particular city, which was far smaller than Indore, or even far smaller than the bigger cities of India. So what happened was, we had an advocacy meeting with the administration, and in the advocacy meeting, since there was media also, the media has to be briefed what we are going to do in the community. So when we started talking about, there is this vitamin A supplementation drive, and a child up to 5 years of age gets 9 doses of vitamin A in a 6-month interval, starting from 9 months of age till 5 years of age. Every 6 months, he or she gets a vitamin A oral dose, 9 doses in the age, till the age of 5 years. This was all okay till the meeting was over. But after the meeting was over, this particular administrator, at a very high designation, he started asking, "Is it very necessary for my child also? My child is 3 years old. Is it necessary for my child also?" And we were like, "Yes, it is necessary for every child to get vitamin A supplementation. It is very preventive. It is very good for the children." He said, "I was never told by my doctor, because my child was getting vaccinated at a private center, and he or she, the doctor, never told me that this is a very important nutritional supplement for my child." So can your Asha or ANM, that is the field health worker, can your field health worker give it to my child also, administer it to my child also? And we were like, yes, it is free for all children. He was quite surprised, even being, on such a higher post, at a higher such a high designation. He was quite surprised, rather shocked, that are you sure my child can get it? And you are saying it is free for everyone. Even if I can afford, can my child still have it for free from the health department? We said yes. India is a country which caters to all the people, to the whole population in terms of public health. When we talk about public health, I'm talking about the preventive measures that we have, like the vaccination of children and pregnant women, the antenatal care services for pregnant women, the postnatal care for women who have delivered recently, the newborn care for the neonates, the elderly, the youth. There are so many things that we are doing for the total population of India, irrespective of them being, of affluent families or not, or irrespective of whether they can afford it or not. Even if you are from well-to-do family, and if you come to a health center asking for a service, you will get it for free. But this is not the case with bigger hospitals or bigger cities. So when we talk about public health, it is always that the bigger hospitals, the bigger cities, they don't actually have the essence of public health, because people do not, bother about preventive services there. They're not so much aware. Even after being educated, they're not well aware that what all preventive services need to be taken by them. Sometimes what we do at such bigger cities is we try to at least impart health education, because if people from affluent families, if they think that it is not, their cup of tea to go to a small health center where there are the common people, the so-called middle class, lower middle class, even the poor class is coming. It is not, up to them, up to mark if they go to such centers. We try to at least provide health education to them, so that they may ask for similar services at the hospitals, or the health centers that they are seeking health from, so that they are not away from preventive health services. But unfortunately, as I already said, the bigger hospitals, the corporate sector, the medical services are available, but the preventive services are not that much, having, I mean, they don't have so much importance at such hospitals, because preventive services are somewhere where you don't think that you are going to get a disease. And if you don't expect a disease to come near you or your family, you're not going to have, any preventive aspect, any preventive measure, any preventive service availed by you or your own family. But only if you fall sick, if you fall ill, you go to a hospital and you get treated. So it is just like people do not know about public health that much, which they should be knowing. And you also mentioned the students who are preparing for, being public health professionals. See, if you would be aware, the medical syllabus in India is by far the toughest in the whole world. Because in India, when we are being taught medicine, when we are being taught various subjects, we are being taught on conventional lines, because it's a country with a huge population, the second largest population of the world, and also lesser number of field staff, lesser number of hospital staff, very less amenities at so many places, where you cannot even rely that this pregnant female or this person with abdominal pain can have an ultrasound being done. You will have to rely with your own hand and palpation, by which you can tell in what lie is the fetus lying inside the mother's womb, or what is the position of the fetus inside the mother's womb, and when it is going to be delivered, what is the expected date when he or she would be born into the world. And we rely over the conventional methods of calculation of expected due date. In so many places, it is still the only way of telling when a pregnant female would be delivering a child. So health, as I said, in India the health setup or the health education, rather the medical education in India is based on the conventional methods. If modalities were not available, then what you would do? We are still being trained and taught in that way. When we talk about public health, the you see, the essence of medical education lies everywhere. When you teach the students how to deal with this disease, but to remember that you are not going to deal with a disease, you are going to deal with a human being, you are going to deal with a whole family. Because when a person falls ill, god forbid, if even if you fall sick sometime, it is whole family which is affected. It is not only you who is being affected. So we are always being taught how to deal with a disease, but also to remember that we are going to deal with a human being, we are going to deal with the whole family. And not only to treat the person, but also keep in mind to, I mean, just to remember to remind them how to not fall sick the next time, or how to prevent the same disease in the other family members. A very small but the biggest possible example that we had in the past 2 years was COVID. COVID is just just a respiratory disease. We had been treating people for measles, for rubella, for chickenpox, for flus since long. But COVID taught everyone that if you are being diagnosed with COVID, you should get isolated from others. This was the smallest preventive measure that a person could take. And people, simultaneously, people started, realizing that if they are ill, if they are sick, they should be away from their family. And this is the only way that they can prevent the other families, the other family members, from getting sick. So when they have realized, when the people of all over world have realized that this disease can be transmitted from one person to another, or the person of my age may or may not die of COVID, but if I come in contact with an elderly in the family, he or she may be more complicated, the condition would be more severe, the disease would be more severe. And so people have started realizing what is the preventive thing with the diseases. So for the students who are trying to get into public health, it is like a little more amount of patience as professional, because we need to deal with so many people who do not actually want to deal with us in the first place. When we go to people as public health professionals, we take a basket of services to a big population, to a wide variety of people in the same community, at the same place they're residing at. And they actually don't know that they need these services. They are not aware that their children need vaccination, or their pregnant females, they need antenatal care services, or there are people who do not realize the importance of institutional deliveries, or there are people who do not know that they actually need to utilize the family planning services, and there are so many other services that we provide to them, but they are not aware that they need the services. If a person is sick and he goes to a hospital or to a doctor, he is actively going to a doctor, to a health facility, and of course he himself is interested in getting treated. But if a person is not sick, and public health professionals are coming to their community to tell that you need these services in order to be better, in order to be healthy, in order to have smaller families, in order to have healthy pregnancy and healthy child thereafter, a person doesn't realize. So a public health professional needs to have a little more patience than other doctors. They need to have better communication skills, because they are reaching out to people who do not need anything, unless and until they start realizing that they need the services actually. So we need to we need to inculcate, we need to rise this need, that the feeling that they need the services. We call this felt need phenomena. So it is important that you have better communication skills, you have good convincing skills, and you can explain the thing well, in order to make this person standing in front of you that they actually need these services. So there are a little more additional skills that a public health professional needs to have, that we actually develop while being in the field. it just comes with experience. But if you already have good convincing skills, communication skills, and if you think that you can tell the right thing to the right person in a right way, you are the person who needs to come into public health.
Okay. Great. Thanks a lot. That's very, well summarized in terms of an answer for public health and students who or young doctors who want to get into it. So, for you, how was it when you started your journey in public health? What were some factors that you had to weigh, and how was the decision made for you to get into public health? Was it right in MBBS, or was it after your graduation? Was it during MD, your PG courses? And also, how much of your training in college was prepared you basically for like you said, communication and dealing with people, patients, and the ability to break things down into smaller pieces of information and then explain them clearly in simple language to a layman, right? That is not something easy. That is a very these skills are critical communication skills that are one of the highest paid skills in any industry. So it is not always taught in school, right? So how did you develop those skills while you were starting your career in public health?
Well, if I say when a kid, I would say when a kid joins MBBS, because yes, kids join MBBS. We just come out of our school after our 12th standard. We start preparing for pre-medical entrance, and we don't know what is college all about and everything. And sometimes you see some people take so much time for preparing to get into MBBS that
Hmm.
they lose the feeling of being in college and everything. I mean, being in college after 12 or 14 years of school is very exciting, has to be very exciting.
Yeah.
But I would just say when a kid joins MBBS, they would never ever think of coming into public health, because
What do you think?
before joining medical school, even if your parents are into health, I mean, if even if your parents are clinicians or physicians or surgeon or anything, nobody talks about public health at home.
Hmm.
Nobody, unless and until they are actually working in public health. If the parents are working in public health, or a person reads and listens to so many people who would talk about various aspects of health and medicine, and one of those aspects would be public health also.
Yeah.
Like, if I talk about you, you would also have come across somebody talking about public health or somebody writing about public health, and then only you would have realized what public health is, and then you would have tried to explore more what it does it mean. You would have heard about health and medicine and
Right. Right.
diseases and treatment, but what is this public health? You would also have tried to explore, just to curb your curiosity.
Hmm.
But somebody made you curious to know it.
Yeah.
It is not an inborn curiosity to know about public health. And when this kid joins MBBS, he's like in the very first year, when he's studying the structure of the body, the functions of various organs of the body, the organ systems, the various tissues, the cells, even the microcellular level, uh, and some biochemical processes that run in the body. The first year student learns only these things. He or she thinks of becoming, a cardiologist, a neurologist, the biggest possible doctors that they have, heard about, or the biggest possible doctors that they have seen in various Bollywood movies or web series. The people who are operating on heart or brain surgeries and all that. So a kid of first year, he or she thinks about only such things. Gradually, you start getting these public health lectures also from the very first year itself. So, but public health is actually a subject that is being taught in all the years. And you also have your internship also for 2 months in community medicine department. The department being, named as social and preventive medicine, preventive and social medicine, community and family medicine, or public health. Various states and various cities use a different nomenclature for the same subject itself. So you start learning it from with the very first year, and even you have an internship, you have your clinical postings for 3.5 years in the same department. But the thing is, You never realize what you are going to do when you are a public health professional, because still I would say you are still a kid in MBBS. During your MBBS, you have these field visits where you would like to, find or try to diagnose diseases among people. You'll try to see or explore possibilities how to treat them, or you would ask a person in the community during a field visit to come to the hospital that you are learning at, and come to the medical college hospital and consult my own professor, and he or she would tell you what to do and all such things. The child doesn't realize that he actually is trying to get into the community. You are trying to connect the community to a health services that he or she is in need of. The person who's sick in the community and has not yet consulted a doctor, this MBBS student is trying to connect this particular patient to a person at the medical college hospital who would be, treating or suggesting him or her what to do. So this is how an MBBS student starts working in public health without even realizing. Gradually, when we try, when we start exploring even bigger and higher subjects in higher professionals in the MBBS syllabus during our curriculum, uh, we even get fascinated with even bigger branches like cardiology, neurology, the other possible aspects where we can, in which we can pursue our PG degrees. But still, we are not very sure, are we going to treat the patient, or we are going to treat the disease, or we are going to deal with the family, or we are going to affect a bigger population on a larger scale. So somewhere it is like, people who are in public health, they are used to saying to each other, you are a public health man, you deserve to be in public health, because there are a few traits which only a few people have. That is, if there is a surgeon, you would have heard from any of your friends or relatives or acquaintances that this surgeon has a very good hand with the scalpel. They have a hand. It is a usual phenomenon. It is a usual, thing that people say about surgeons. Or when there is a physician, he has got the best possible eyes. He just looks at the patient and can diagnose. But also, you would have heard it, when this doctor talks to me, na, I get well. I really get well soon only when he talks to me, even before taking the very first tablet that he has prescribed me with. So this is a skill that some people have already. This is a skill that some people realize that they can develop in them, or it is a skill which some people develop unknowingly by, interacting with people more and more, and getting into touch with variety of people, and getting, intimate with their diseases, their problems, and trying to solve their medical problems as well as their medico-social problems. And these people ultimately land up thinking that it is somewhere that, that they deserve to be is not into the hospital but in the field, not not treating a few people per day but affecting a bigger population every day. So people gradually decide this. If you ask me personally, how did I get into public health, or why did I choose to be, a PG student in public health? I also, had, still I have a fascination in working with kids, small babies, small kids, grown up kids, school children. I have a fascination with pediatrics. And I actually was trying to get into pediatrics when gradually I started realizing that I'm a better counselor, not only for treating, I was and I'm still good at treating children, but I had been better at counseling the mother, the grandmother, the father of the child in how to keep your child healthier next time, how to not land up into my hospital the next time. As an MBBS also, when I started practicing for a very small time, I was quite a good counselor, and people would sometimes laugh. Doctor, don't you love your business? Don't you love your bread and butter? You every time you teach us how to prevent this disease and how not to come to you with the disease. Don't you love money? Yes, everybody loves money. Money can buy so many things if it is needed, but I know that if I teach people how to be healthy, how to utilize preventive measures at home, and how to keep away from diseases, still they would be getting some or the other ailment, some or the other disease, and they'll have to land up into the hospital. But it is a moral responsibility of every health person, I would say, that they should educate people in how to stay healthy, how to keep healthy. India is a big population. You said there is less than one doctor over 1,000 population. You would be surprised to know the actual data says there is one general doctor, general physician over more than 10,000 people.
Wow.
So it is in human welfare that we impart health education at such a large scale, on such levels, that more and more people learn how to keep healthy, and only a small chunk of them who miss out to be healthy would land up with the doctors, because it's a population which is, I mean, lesser attended, underattended, sometimes I would say underserved. There are so many people whom you would state as underprivileged.
Yeah.
So it is important that a person should realize that, I mean, a medical professional should realize that we need to impart health education. And there are so many students during MBBS, they realize that they are good at talking. I mean, you have heard me talking earlier also, today also. Today I had a quite big micro planning workshop. Whenever I do have workshops with health professionals, sometimes at the district level, sometimes at the taluka level, sometimes at the field level, I always talk to them. I talk so much, so much, so much, and at the end I would say I don't like speaking much. I don't like talking much. And they would burst into giggles. But I would say, if you want to talk less like me. If you want to talk more, talk even more than me. But don't talk less than me. Because if you talk more and more, it is going to do benefits to the community. So the people who are talkative since childhood, or people who become talkative during their school years, or people who don't realize or explore this quality of them during their school years, somehow, in some or the other way, some or the other trigger makes them realize this talkativeness, this convincing power, this communication skills during their MBBS days, and they'll end up choosing public health as their career. So people who are very much confused what to pursue, they may realize, they may try to explore what skills do they have. Every medical student have some skills, and he or she is made for a particular branch.
Mm-hmm.
Even if some people get into a branch which should have been their second or third priority, they start doing well. But every branch in medicine, whether it be cardiology, neurology, any academic branch of medicine, or gynecology, pediatrics, orthopedics, any branch you say, communication skills are a must.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are good at communication skills, you can pursue any clinical branch. You can pursue public health. But public health professionals, they realize it a little earlier, that they are actually trying to, they're actually trying to develop this power of words with the community, the power of their you see persuasions with the community. And they start realizing whatever I tell this community, or whatever I tell these people, they agree to it. And this is how a public health professional realizes that they are made for public health. And yes, these public health professionals actually are going to hear this again someday, that you are a public health man, you deserve to be in public health. So it is something that is being realized gradually, automatically.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. That's great. That's I think that really sums up very well, because you're right. The kind of work that you do and the schedules that you have talk in itself about how many people you're meeting, how many presentations you're giving, how much talking you're doing, or how many times you have to explain something very complicated in very simple words to somebody who does not have that kind of a technical or a medical background, right? And so you have to have that aptitude, and a lot of it is personal talent, but a lot of it is learned skill, and you develop that skill over time, over the years. That's great. So, Dr. Abhishek, we would really want to talk more and more, but maybe this is a great place to conclude this session right now, right? We had a great conversation. We did learn about how can young medical students and medicine professionals or young doctors build their careers, things, nuances about tier one, tier two, tier three cities, and also the background of National Doctors Day. Why is it so important to celebrate doctors in general, to appreciate what they're doing, to be respectful of their work, and to, to treat them as a friend? And that's the tagline, or that's sort of the underlying theme of today. What Healthful Diaries team is doing is that a doctor is a friend. They take care of you, or a medical professional is a friend. All paramedics, nurses, anybody, they're friends of yours. They take care of you, they help you. So you be a friend to them as well. You respect their effort, you respect the help that they're providing, all the effort and the hard work that they're doing. So many times they put their families behind you. They put our needs above everything else. They put their own personal needs at the last, right? So we do want to take this opportunity to be very appreciative of that, and to, if anybody who's listening and who will listen or watch this, um, if you know a doctor in person or even acquaintances, tell them how thankful you are to the service that they're doing for the nation. Tell them how appreciative you are of their work. And even though we don't understand everything, non-medicals may not understand everything about what a medical life looks like, still appreciate the fact that there's a lot going on in the background that you don't get to see at all. So thanks a lot, Dr. Abhishek. Any parting words for your peers, your colleagues, doctors in general? Anything?
To my peers, to my colleagues, whom I know, whom I don't, or who know me or who don't know me, I would just try to say, uh, I mean, doctors know what they're doing, but I would just ask them to keep realizing what good they are going. I mean, they are doing for the community, for the public, for the society. Never ever underestimate yourself. Always remember, we were being, we were destined to be doctors, we were destined to be health care providers, we were destined to be, if at all you think you have sacrificed something or the other for public welfare, so we were destined to do that. So be happy in yourself. And apart from doctors, all the others, I would just say, somewhere somebody is sacrificing their sleep, their food, their me time, their friendship, so many things for just to be your doctor, just to treat you someday. So even if you don't thank a doctor, even if you don't appreciate a doctor on his face, just have regards in the doctors who are trying to make you feel better. And if the world is a healthier place, it would be it would be us who would be the happiest people. So try to make us happier by just staying well, this much only.
Awesome. That's great. It's a great conclusion. Thank you, Dr. Abhishek. And please give our regards to your family and friends. Really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ayush. Thank you.